We finally reached that time that one of the oldest cards is getting the chance to see some play. Don't beg 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more of content. Number one is Tyrants Terrad, or Terrad. Oh boy. You know, I've seen this card memed back in 2011 as an absolute joke. But we have actually reached the point now in the card's career, ladies and gentlemen, that people are actually playing this. You're probably asking, how do we... Two monsters to tribute and effects of effect monsters cannot activate in the hand or the field. Why would you play this? Runic is playing it because the new horse actually gives you the ability to make a token when your opponent adds a card from the deck to the hand. Wow. So two monsters in Runic. The deck that can summon the horse literally at will now has access to another floodgate. Yeah, the loss of skill drain didn't mean anything for this deck because we now have access to this. Now, how reliable is this going to be? Well, it's going to have to do with, well, I mean, how good Runic is going to be post a future list here. You do kind of got to keep in mind, you know, in terms of how things are going to shape up with this, you're not going to be able to play this until much later in the year. And I mean, that's not until August in Duelist Nexus where you'll get that power up. But this is a Storm of Ragnarok common, and let's be honest here, when a card is a common, it means that you can grab a playset whether or not you think that the idea is going to catch on or not. And you can just pick up a set just to have. I think the card is incredibly cool for what it does. Looking at the Ram Championship out of the OCG is actually where I saw this come to light, and I was like, wow, you know, like double Runic decks actually playing this. Yeah, it doesn't stop things in the graveyard, but it does shut off the hand as well. Yes, they can Cosmic Cyclone this, but I mean, they can Cosmic Cyclone, you know, the skill drain too. So I think that this card is amazing. So we'll see where this goes. Next up is Fantastical Dragon Fantasmine. You're probably like, really? Fantasmine? So here's an interesting little thing about this. With the super heavy Samurai decks kind of squeaking back into the format here, a few people have been looking at this card. I mean, also the OCGs started to play this in a decently larger number because whenever your opponent link summons, you just drop this and then you literally draw 2 and then return 1. And then it's just a 2400 monster that you have sitting on the field that you have accomplished. So, I mean, but does that mean that what happens if they don't link summon? Well, not every deck in the game is going to link summon. I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you there. I wish we could get infinite value out of every single game, but alas, that's not the case. In a lot of situations, this ends up being a one of or a slight two of in potential. It's going to depend on, one, can your deck support this? Two, can you get an advantage out of siding this? Because remember, the side deck is usually about going, hey, you know, can we board in some sort of solution? Does what we're siding in actually benefit to our game plan? And, you know, to be honest with you, Super Heavy Samurai doesn't exactly, I mean, have the spells and traps and resources. So being able to sculpt your hand for a potential, you know, 2 cards into another hand trap, or the potential to see, you know, oh, you know, I didn't see the Wakashi or something like that, or the Samurai Bike in order to start the basic combo of things. And it also gives you another defensive card. 2400 is actually kind of impressive out here. I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten how big, you know, how this can be. Also, it's a level 7, so you have some little extra lines of synergy kind of built into the card. I mean, a level 3 tuner plus this does in fact make Baron to floor. So I think that that's a lot of things to really consider in and itself. But yeah, Fantasme, definitely something that players are looking to here. Next up is Aratama. Well, we have finally reached the point now that Sakitama has touched down in the TCG. Sakitama, reveal in your hand, gain an additional normal summon of a spirit monster. Well, that's not really too cheesy in and itself, but it is another level 4 monster that you can interact with. What we've been seeing with this in the OCG side of things is Mathmech and Exosister. Actually, more so Mathmech, actually, because Aratama searches for the Sakitama, and then you can reveal the Sakitama to a normal summon. Congratulations, you have 2 level 4s already established on your field. Then you can just reveal the Circular in hand, and then go ahead and do full combo. The whole point of this engine is it gets around the you can only special summon Cybers monsters for the rest of this turn because these are normal summons. Alright, Konami has definitely explored the option tree out here to kind of showcase, one, splashability, and two, the ability to breathe life back into the rank 4 toolbox. Rank 4 has suffered quite a big hit in the modern era years, and because of that not super successful, line of things, to see that, you have two decent combo, well, one's better than the other. Hi MathMech. The fact that you're able to play this card and not get punished. It was an engine that I feel like was designed to get around the little niche locks that are kind of in the game for a reason, to allow you to go, hey, you want to be able to access rank 4 spam just a little bit more. Who would have guessed that a searcher that gives you access to another normal summon that just bypasses all of the locks that you could ever want in the game actually is there. Card's kind of expensive. I hope we see a reprint soon, but at most it sees 1, 2, 3, actually all 3 numbers do see play. It depends on your ratios and how you want to deck build. Next up is There Can Only Be One. You're probably like, wait, Robbie, why are you talking about a floodgate that most people already have? Well, this is actually an answer to what I have been asked for. What can I pick up for Vanquish, Soul Robbie? I've really looked at Wild Survivors, and I've tried to answer a lot of the questions of what can you get ahead of the curve for to have. Well, in terms of Vanquish Soul, the only real thing that I'm seeing that you can kind of get ahead of the curve is There Can Only Be One. I'm sorry to tell you that, because most of the things that you're going to need for the deck are going to be available in that pack. Vanquish Soul is essentially a mid-range control deck where you're able to kind of combo off. I think you get a bounce and a spin. Don't quote me on that. It's something very close. I always say that the big dinosaur is like the way to go, because they do have, reverse engineer maxi synergy into the deck, but you do kind of got to keep in mind for that deck that I think it's going to be very, very, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, because everybody keeps pointing to, well, the deck doesn't have maxi, Robbie. It's not going to be good here. Well, that's quite possibly true to a degree, but it's not going to stop players from trying it. Also, between all 3 decks in the duels pack, dinosaurs do get a pretty big boost out of there. And the murder and dinner archetype, even though it looked really cool, just literally flopped everywhere. Hopefully we'll see some sort of cool power-ups for that along the way here, but from where I'm sitting here, There Can Only Be One is the only real thing. Other than, picking up, getting ready to save money for the set from when it actually drops here. But that's what we're looking at right now. Wild Survivors is pretty freaking wild. Yeah, did you like that pun? I know, it was awful. And the last thing we got to talk about here is, what do I need to pick up for the Illusionist archetype? Now, the Illusionist archetype is kind of interesting because obviously you have Gazelle and Baphomet, both cards that you can actually already grab right now for, consideration for the deck. But the other big thing is Guardian Chimera. The biggest thing that I've seen this deck actually doing in the OCG is it kind of feels like Guardian Chimera spam, where the fusion allows you to fuse during your opponent's turn, and then you can set up the Guardian Chimera, and then your opponent just kind of looks around and goes, wow, a deck since Despia that can actually use Guardian Chimera as a defensive option. That's what you actually want to see in a deck like this, is the ability to take advantage of defensive options for the chance to play the game. Now, the Illusionist archetype hasn't had a crazy amount of success in the OCG, but players have actually been massively excited to test out some of the ideas that the deck brings to the table, because it's a new type. It's unique in the aspect of, the way that it's able to handle certain situations, and obviously Gazelle, Baphomet, Yugi's ace or some of his best monsters actually seeing play in the deck. And obviously nostalgia does in fact, so whether or not people want to see that or not, it's there. So I'd put Guardian Chimera on that list. I've seen some builds playing 2 of it. It really depends on, I guess, how you're feeling or what you're expecting, or if you think there's going to be a reprint sometime soon. Keep an eye on it. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. You stay safe out there, alright? Patrons! Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.